Right. So once you have identified the IP address, the default IP address on a SATO printer or pretty much any thermal printer, as you boot it up for the first time, it's probably in DHCP mode. So if you have an Ethernet cable connected to it, your router is going to supply it with an IP address. We have a previous video showing how to find that IP address on both the Datamax and also on the SATO printer. And so if you know that, this is for the SATO printer now. I'm going to open up a new tab and I'm going to just type in that IP address. In my world, it's this. And as you hit enter, it'll come up and say that it's unsafe, but hey, it's on your network. So I'm clicking on it. And what you'll see now is the home page of this printer. And this is a much easier place to actually configure the printer than through all the menus. You can do it either way, but I'm finding that this is an easier way for me to support people remotely as well. And I think it's a little easier for IT folks, customers themselves, to configure these printers. So let's say we want to change the settings on this. Each one of these home pages, regardless of who the printer model is going to have a password to go in and change things. So here I have to log in on the SATO world, and they have factory, returning to factory settings, service settings. We want to go to just regular settings. And the default password for SATO is 0310. I'll show that again, 0310. Once you hit login, you'll be able to see now all of these things that are popping up for setting the network. That's probably one of the first things you want to do, so let's follow through with that. We click this, and we see that the network is set up for DHCP. And if you want to change that, you would have to provide the MAC address of this printer to your IT people. They give you an IP address, and you can then change this to static, and then you could put in whatever that IP address that they're reserving for your MAC address. Fill all this out and hit apply. Okay, that would be that simple. In terms of finding your MAC address, should be back here. There it is right there. So if we go to the Information tab, it will tell us this is our current IP address, and this is the MAC address. This is what you want to give to your network administrator to say, reserve that MAC address to have some static IP that they tell you, and then you come into this page and make that the static IP for this printer. Thereafter, every time you power up the printer, it's going to have that IP address. Printer drivers can point to only that IP address, and you should have a fairly stable connection going forward.